I'm Enzo, and my dad had dementia while I was growing up. I probably got it when I was about 9 or so about 12 years ago now. I think one of the easiest things for me was that Mum was really honest with me. So she told me a lot of what was going on, and I think that made it easier because I could deal with the situation and know what was going on, as opposed to just wondering why my dad was constantly forgetting things. And also, I mean, we made a lot of jokes about it. I think bringing the light-hearted, funny side of it into things made it a lot easier to deal with, particularly with me being so young. Dad would always lose his keys, and I would always be the one who had to go and find them, and it was tough at times. You know, when you lose your keys 7 times in a day, you start to wonder why you've lost your keys so much. But yeah, Mum and I would just joke about it and joke about losing things and forgetting things all the time, and it just, I don't know, I guess it helped me deal with the situation because it made it seem more normal to me. As a 9-year-old, my friends would come around, we'd go and play away from the parents and just enjoy our own company, and so they probably didn't really see much of him, and I didn't really talk about it with my friends, so it wasn't really to me it wasn't an issue that really had to leave the family, which I don't know if it's necessarily good or bad, but I think it probably, my friends didn't need to know, and it didn't, you know, it probably would have complicated things. And I think as I grew up, Mum probably told me more and more of, you know, the different scenarios that she had to deal with in terms of her friends and whether they coped with it or not, and whether they judged her on the decisions she made. I knew of some of them and a bit of the judgment that took place at the time, just kind of among our close family and friends. But there's always going to be people who understand it and who, you know, accept it and accept the choices that you choose to make. When someone like Dad is out in public, obviously he doesn't have a sign around his neck that says, "I have dementia, please, you know, treat me nicely." And there were a few instances. I remember there was one time where Mum got a call from the BP in town where he had driven away without paying for his petrol. And, you know, to them, he was a thief who had stolen petrol, and to us it was like, Dad forgot to pay. So yeah, I think that kind of thing is probably what is the most difficult part, because you need to be able to explain to other people what's going on. I think the thing that helped me the most was that I came to terms with the fact that he was sick, and that, you know, even the fact that he may not live very long, quite early on, and it made dealing with the whole process a lot easier, because it meant that, you know, as he got worse and worse, I anticipated it, I knew it was coming, and so I kind of knew what to expect, and I guess I had prepared myself in how to deal with it, which probably made it a lot easier. I think if I had kind of pushed it to the back of my mind and ignored it and said, you know, pretended like it wasn't happening, which is effectively what he was doing, and it's one of the, you know, I think it's one of the side effects of dementia is denial. But yeah, I think being honest with yourself is definitely the main thing. I guess, you know, for people to understand the different ways that people can cope with dementia and the different ways that people do cope with dementia, and I guess how it affects people, because it doesn't affect everyone in the same way, and I think different people deal with it in different ways, and there's not necessarily a right or wrong way. But I guess, you know, if I could educate someone in how to deal with it in a way that's going to benefit them and their family, then that'd be great. But I think in terms of like a general public, we probably could be a bit more open about it and talk about it a bit more, so that, you know, people were a bit more understanding. If they saw someone in the supermarket, you know, who was forgetting things or who was acting a little bit strange, that instead of them thinking, oh, he's a bit odd, you might go, oh, maybe he has dementia, or maybe he has some kind of mental illness or something, and thinking about it that way, as opposed to just thinking, oh, people are strange. The thing to understand is that once someone starts progressing down a track of mental illness, they're actually not really the same person anymore. As difficult as that is to say, it's probably one of the best ways to deal with it, because you actually understand that, you know, Dad with dementia isn't necessarily the same Dad that I knew who would teach me how to play golf or whatever it was.